I think we're good. Good morning, folks. As always, give me just a second here. YouTube does me dirty here, and everybody else. And we'll get started. True American Loretta, yes ma'am. Just filled it up. It's still, I don't know if y'all can see the steam on that or not here. Maybe not. I don't know. The lighting's pretty bad. Oh yeah, we are 5 by 5. Good morning. Happy hump day. Happy hump day. Jess Lowry was the first one in here. Ma'am, you have bragging rights for the day. And just a quick reminder, all of the links, the email and things are down below. I have people throughout the day, throughout the chat, when I go back and rewatch the chat, they're like, how do I do this? How do I email you? All that stuff is down below the video. Thanks to Aaron. He emailed yesterday and said, son, your link for joining is not working, so I updated the link. Sorry about that. Yeah, happy hump day. Big Red is in the house. Thank you for being here, Big Red. River Rat, the prepping preacher. I Spy is up in here. Mama Jules, Crystal, Greg. How you doing, brother? Loose. Gene, God's Country, Big German. Mods, the chat, I actually went in and slowed it down a little more as opposed to yesterday. So hopefully it does well. Sophia, good morning, ma'am. Reckless Reese, Night of the Living Prepper. I will be joining, Jason, I'll be joining your social media thing right after this. I got the invite in the email there. So if you haven't done so, if you haven't shot a big thumbs up, I hereby curse you to a date night with Nancy Pelosi watching Titanic. Just saying. All right. Is the end of the pandemic in sight? That's what I want to talk about this morning, among other things. Because I continue to see it. Now they're kind of sort of rolling that out in mainstream media, the propaganda media. I linked one of the stories down below, but it's starting to hit a lot of the local. Yeah, oh God, Marley's like, oh God, I better hit thumbs up. A lot of the local channels now are saying, well, the case count's coming down. Everything's looking great. I think the end is in sight. They're using all kinds of this stuff. And so I have two questions for you before I answer it and I tell you my personal opinion on this. Number one, are the people that have stripped our freedoms away, are they ready to hand those freedoms back over? You have to ask yourself that first and foremost when it comes to the pandemic ending. You know, are we in a position now where the powers that be are going to say, all right, we're through it. We're at the other end of the tunnel. Here's all of your freedoms back. Number one, nope. Who says nope? Brian, nope. Swamp Bottom, I agree. I don't think they're ready to do it. The second question I have, and I have to word this a little weird, medicine. You guys know about the medicine industry. I can't use the actual term because they'll flag it. Are they prepared to get rid of their biggest cash cow? One of the companies actually made $3.5 billion within a 3-month span, for those that didn't know, during the rollout of the whiskey shot. $3.5 billion. This is just one of the companies that rolled it out, and they've been making billions ever since. So if you believe that your rights are getting ready to be handed back to you and you're going to get a pat on the back like a, you know, like a Sandlot baseball coach or something, you did it, man. You made it to the other side. And if you believe that the industry of medicine is ready to give up their number one moneymaker, then by all means, we're at the end, right? We're through it. The end is in sight. But what I think is going to happen, folks, is I think that they are going to dangle it in front of Americans. They're going to, you know, tempt them with it. They're going to say, give them a little taste of freedom. And then they're going to pull the rug out from under them. And then they're going to point at all of the people that have not submitted. I think this is actually a ploy to further divide the country, further politicize this entire thing. And I'm telling you this morning because if you're prepping, number one, you need to continue to focus on prepping. Okay, continue to focus, ignore all the nonsense that you're going to see in mainstream media. Ignore all of the false hope, because I hate to be a negative Nancy, but I do think they're dangling false hope out there for people. because people are just worn down from the pandemic. They're so sick of it. And that's part of the scheme, I think. Just opinion. And number two, as you see this play out, understand that if you've not taken the knee, you're going to continue to have stuff stripped away. The persecution is just going to get worse and worse. It's all by design. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat on it if the chat's not flying. Tomorrow, John, they have already started with the finger pointing. Correct. They did this, I think it was May. It was back in May when they said, oh, it must be over. All the numbers are down. And then, then it wasn't over. And then the finger pointing started. And then everybody said, well, it's those dang Republicans. It's always the Republicans, right? It's those daggone conservatives. They won't take a knee. And it's those daggone minorities. They won't take a knee. It's all their fault. I think we're just seeing a replay of the same thing. Alpha, that's a good point. William Ashley. Alpha ended, then Delta came. That is where we are at now. Will something replace Delta? Absolutely. They're saying Delta is coming to an end. And people are really blowing it out of proportion. They're saying, well, the pandemic's over. We're at the end. They're going to replace it with something else. This is a never-ending deal. They want us to the point, and I know that our opinions vary on the whiskey shot, okay? I ain't trying to judge anybody, but they want us to the point where we're totally submissive and we're going in every 6 months to resubmit. If y'all know what I mean with the booster and everything. The R variant I have heard of. Thank you very much for that. And again, mods, slow chat is on. I promise you. I saw those complaints yesterday. Mojo, how you doing, brother? I am sorry I missed you earlier. Outdoor with James, USA Prepping. Wow. USA Prepping. Here on Hump Day, USA Prepping has something to say. I'd rather give Hillary the old carrot trick before I would ever comply. There you go. Wow. Trudy, I've heard that there will be 7 boosters. I actually don't know. I think it will probably be never ending. But we are friends with a few people that they said they weren't going to do it, and then they broke down and they relented and they did it. And now they're like, I'm not doing the booster. So we'll see. They thought they would go in one time and it was over. It's never going to be over. Too many people are making a lot of money off this thing, Yeah, Swamp Bottom says won't end every 6 months, people. CP Freedom gets it. So yeah, the finger pointing and hatred is alive and well up here in Canada, Donna says. And, it is here as well, and it's going to ramp up. That's part of the plan. So anyway, I'm going to shift over now before they flag me. And we're going to be talking about Joe Biden, or, whatever you want to call him. Thief in chief. Maybe he's your president. I don't know. Again, I don't judge. Biden is now pushing for the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to begin investigating parents at local school board meetings. And he is flagging them as a domestic threat. So for those that don't have kids in school, this is actually a real issue. It's been a real issue for a while. What has happened is so many parents are against what's being taught in schools right now, whether it's CRT or, just nonsense in general, wokeness, that they're packing out school board meetings. And school boards are now saying, you have to sign up ahead of time. You have to basically let us vet what you're going to say before you get in front of the microphone. And parents are complying with that. And then when they get to the school board meetings, they start to speak out against CRT or wokeness. And school boards are actually unplugging their microphones. And they're saying your time is up. And the parents just begin to speak louder, and they say, no, my time's not up. I have 5 minutes to speak, and I'm going to speak. And they just speak louder, and they're speaking against the silencing of being able to speak, First Amendment. And they're actually now being drug out of school board meetings by local police officers. This is happening for real. And so now it's become such a big issue because what happens is when you see a parent who is just trying to stick up for their kid or their kids being drug out by police officers at a school board meeting, so the next time around what happens is the school board meeting has 3 times as many people there and they're pissed. So it's ramping up, and now Joe Biden he's wanting to nationalize local police is what's happening. It's happened before. You know what I mean? He wants a Gestapo. And I've tried to explain this, and I always get hateful emails or videos of police officers with starter beards cutting promos on me or whatever on their way to work. And I'm trying to explain to these people, I don't have anything against police officers per se. But what I do have a problem with is police officers treating people this way. You're there to serve the people. That's your job. Not drag them out when they're trying to speak freely. And it's a bunch of nonsense, man. And police officers will email, okay? Exactly. The minister's a corner. Whose side are the cops on? At this point, you're picking tyranny or you're picking to be a patriot. There's no more fence riding, is what I'm trying to say. When it comes down to your supervisors say if somebody, tries to speak when their microphone's unplugged, you arrest them and carry them out. To me, that's illegal. And if you're going to choose to do that, you're a tyrant at that point. But they always email and they're like, look, man, I can't quit my job. I got bills to pay. I got a family at home. And I'm like, I don't want to hear this. We have educators right now, maybe even in the chat, that have lost their job for not complying and not being a dirtbag. We have people in the medical industry right now that may be in this chat that have lost their job. I mean, for God's sake, we got soldiers getting booted out of the military because they're holding the line and they won't comply. And they have families and they need a paycheck. But their integrity is more important than a paycheck. So I don't want to hear it. If you're going to, if you're a police officer and you're doing this crap or you're watching it happen in front of you, maybe you're at a school board meeting and you see another police officer doing this and you don't step in and help. Don't even email me. I don't want to hear from you. Excuse time is over. No more fence riding. So I just wanted to bring that up. They're going to be talking about it in mainstream media, but it is an issue. I see this here locally. Okay. So it is going on. It's not something they'll say, well, Fox or Tucker Carlson or propaganda. No, it's really happening. If you don't think it's happening, go to your local school board meeting next time and check it out for yourself. So, sorry about that. So, neck's probably red now. It just makes me mad when people blame shift and make excuses because this is all happened before. And it's, if you're allowing this to happen, it's your own stupidity. Books are cheap. You can rent them at the local library. There's no excuse not to know that this has happened before. And to be doing it again just makes you an idiot. All right. So we're running a poll here. Civil war or secession would divide the country, okay? And it would. I'm for it. I've said this. Apparently 73% of you are for it as well. But people made a very good point yesterday. Balkanization. I saw that a few times when I watched the replay. So balkanization, what that basically means is you get in, you infiltrate an empire, a very strong empire, and you force it to the point where it's broken into pieces because it becomes much easier to control or overtake at that point. So balkanization is a huge problem if it comes to secession. In a perfect world, like we were just talking about, in a perfect world, I would like to see law enforcement and patriots stand up legally. I'm not pushing anything illegal here. And go arrest these fools. Go arrest these tyrants that are going against our Constitution. But I know that we're too far gone. I know that we're not going to do that at this point. I know that when we have police officers carrying taxpayers out and putting them in the back of police cars just for trying to speak up during a time that they have scheduled to speak, I know that we're too far gone. and that's never going to happen. So the next option for me is secession. Okay, so just, we're going over here, leave us alone. And if you're not willing to leave us alone at that point, violence will ensue. And that's where civil wars come into play. Again, I'm not advocating for it. I don't see any way around it at this point. You know, as Six Shooter says, prayer and stay strapped up. That's the two things I would be doing. I would be praying for the country at this point, and I would be strapped up. But I don't know. Is there a better way out of this? Do we try and vote our way out of this and pin all of our hopes on a fair election and politicians to actually give a crap for a change? Do we turn to local police? And this doesn't have anything to do with local sheriffs. Okay, I'm not talking about sheriffs when I say police. They're a little bit different. They're elected officials. If you have a constitutional sheriff, you're in great shape. I'm talking about the local police where, you know, the mayor calls and says, oh, we got to do this, or we can't do this. We can't arrest these people. Patrick M., thank you. Special election in Texas, November the 2nd. Vote yes on Proposition number 3 to protect religious freedom in Texas. Early voting open soon. Vote in midterms. Spread the word. Absolutely. If you will send me, again, the email's down below. If you'll send me a link, I'll blast it out on Twitter. I have a huge following over there compared to YouTube, actually. I'll be glad to blast it out for you. Thank you very much. And it's sad that we have to have a proposition in the first place to protect religious freedom. Everybody should have religious freedom, or to be free of religion. People should be able to do whatever they want to do when it comes to religion. Pray however you want to pray, you know. I can see employers saying, hey, we're paying you, don't bring it into the workplace, that sort of deal. Or public schools even, to a degree. But beyond that, I mean, the government should not be involved at all. Again, mods, I'm so sorry. The chat there for a second was flying. I'm thinking 2022 could be the spark, Honey Badger. You may be right on that. You may be right on that. If we make it to 2024, I promise you that will be the spark. The midterm elections, maybe. Again, you might be, it may cause the spark. But if we get to 2024, especially if Trump runs again, it's a no-win situation. Because if Trump loses again, conservatives, I think at that point, they have no choice but to leave the union because they know it's over. On the flip side, if Trump wins, this place, America is going to look like a hellscape. Liberals are going to be out burning everything. Wandering Star, thank you very much. Anyone seeing divisions in their own households, immediate families over this? Seen it, my own family and family friends. It just depends on what you're talking about that's causing the division. Are you talking about like CRT? Are you talking about, you know, the stuff that's being taught in schools, or the whiskey shot? Yeah, there are plenty of people here that have division in the households, I can promise you. A lot of people here prep and their spouses aren't prepping, so they're divided like fundamentally on that. Fed up. If violence doesn't work, why do we send our military to war? Violence does work. I don't advocate for violence, okay? I don't advocate for violence here, but at the same time, I've always heard, since I was a little kid, guys, that the second is there to protect the First Amendment. And we are watching in front of our very eyes our First Amendment being taken away. You know, and still, I don't advocate for violence. But I think if people are trying to force our First Amendment away, we should legally try and leave, you know, just to be left alone so we can have our freedom of speech. And I think at that point, if they force you to stay and they will not allow you to leave, at that point, you really don't have another option. You know, the Second Amendment is there for a reason. CP Freedom. Did you all see that they are out of hunting ammo now? It's getting low here again. We knew it was going to happen. I I remember it was plentiful there for a while, you know, certain calibers and stuff. And we were talking about y'all better stack it because it ain't gonna last. And so we're hitting it again, and who knows when it's coming back. Somebody made a comment, then we'll go straight in the chat. Somebody made a comment right before I came on, and she said it's hard to keep stacking when stores look pretty good. And I'm not picking on this lady. She's actually right. It's hard. I've heard this from many people actually. It's hard to stack it to the rafters and to keep buying stuff when you walk into your local store and it's, you know, it's in really good shape. My wife and I, Miss Nation and I, have had this debate. I'll call it a debate more than once. She's like, John, we got to quit buying so much canned food. Or we got to quit Mylar. We're out of room. And the stores still haven't run out, this sort of thing. So, ma'am, what I do personally in this situation is once you've got enough food and you're feeling pretty confident with the food that you have and your stores still look good on food, focus on prepping on something else. So if you ever have power outages, maybe start to focus on a really good generator. If you can't afford a generator, maybe a couple of boxes of hot hands, some wool blankets, stuff like that. Focus on gear. Focus on something prepping related that's going to help you out, and maybe just take your focus off of food for a while. Homestead Homeboy, North Carolina, you never have enough. I agree. But at the same time, brother, some people live, you know, in a studio apartment and they can only stack so much, you know. So they need to focus on other things. Hygiene, that's a good one. V-Prep. Over-the-counter medicines, if you can find them, they're starting to run out. So let me tell y'all about this. This happened yesterday. Bacon. Miss Nation goes into Food City, and she has been trying to track down, let me see here, Uncrustables and Lunchables. I think the Magic Prepper, Matt, he was just talking about Lunchables being hard to find. So our kids love both, but they've been taking other stuff because we can't find them. So she goes into Food City trying to land some yesterday. And she comes back out and she sits in the car. You know, she gets in the car and she's like looking forward, stone-faced. You know what I mean? Like it's the eve of hump day or something. And she's just like looking. And I said, what, I got to get some smelling salt out? What's going on here? And she said, the store brand of bacon, you know, the boxes of bacon, was $7.99, and that sounded high to me. We do that. Teresa says make your own Uncrustables. We do that too. We have a couple of those cutters, and that sounded pretty high to me. But I will admit that when we go to the grocery store, I'm looking at certain things. I'll look at the beans and the rice and the bottled water. I'm in prepper mode. She does a lot of the grocery shopping, so she knows the prices, and I'm like, is this pretty high? And she says, early last week, so not even 2 weeks ago, she said it was $6. So it's went up $2 in the span of 2 weeks. And she was like quiet for an hour after that. I said, honey, it's just going to get worse. You know, it's not like a pork shortage, not like it's a new thing, but I mean, my God, to go up $2 in 2 weeks. Broadhead 76, thank you very much. We don't need a civil war. We need to reduce the federal government. Totally agree. To a point where it was intended. States are supposed to hold the power. I totally agree. Unfortunately, your government that has the military does not agree. The first Civil War was fought because of this, and also slavery. You don't hear about the states' rights argument much when you're reading about the Civil War, studying about the Civil War. I almost failed a class in college because I was arguing with the professor over this. You know, he was one of these where it's 100% over slavery. And I'm like, dude, slavery was a huge issue. But states' rights versus federal rights was also a huge issue, and we need to acknowledge that. So we went to war over that once, and it may come down to it again. Outdoors with James with a fancy diamond. So he's been supporting for a while. I appreciate that, brother, very much. After you've been here for a while, you in the coffee club, again, the link is down below. You get these little things beside your besides your name, you'll see some people in here. There's a Death Wish Coffee now. So Jim's been here for several months in the coffee club there. But then it starts to get to diamonds and things. So it just makes it easier for me to look in chat and see you. But I look for everybody anyway. It doesn't always work. Robert, we want Caveman James. I was just thinking about this, brother, yesterday after I talked about him. I'm going to try and get him on maybe one Saturday night. Again, he's up in Virginia, so we're going to have to work something out. But I thought about bringing him on just to get his perspective where he's not a prepper, okay? So he has some survival skills, believe it or not, but he does not prep. And so without shaming him too bad, I would like to get him on the show and just ask him questions so we can better understand how a non-prepper thinks. Squatch America, welcome to the coffee club. James, Caveman James would love that handle, Squatch America. He Bigfoot hunts. He hunts for Mothman, and again, I'm not judging, and he is part of a ghost hunting group. And yes, for those that are asking, they will go through a graveyard ghost hunting. They got all the fancy equipment. I don't know the names of it, and he goes barefoot. Yeah. So there you go. You ever see somebody hunting for Bigfoot barefoot? If Bigfoot saw this dude, he'd be like, man. Outdoors with James. Okay. I used to be James the Southern Prepper. I got you. I remember that handle. Thank you, man. I did not know that. Bill B. Caveman James' survival skills are depending on you. He depends on me to bring the gear and the food and pretty much everything else. He's got a fishing pole, but he can't fish. He's much worse than I am, and I'm mediocre at best. He's decent when it comes to... It's weird, man. Like, he knows his knots. He knows like 15 different knots. And so we always get him to put hammocks up when we're camping, deep woods, and he's pretty decent with shelter building and stuff. But that's it. And he'll admit the government's getting ready to collapse. This is the part that blows my mind. He's like, yeah, we don't have much longer. And I'm like, are you prepping? Nah. He's odd. Somebody, Worminati says this guy sounds so uninteresting to me. He's odd. He's his own person. Jess B. That's a good question. Anyone else out there have family that are distancing themselves because you haven't taken the whiskey shot? That's good for the chat. Yeah, I know Paul Jones. That's a good question. The family that we have here they're not. They're on board. They're where we're at. Our mindset's at. But I do know that there are people in chat that are dealing with that right now. Paul, to your point there, James has me to take care of him. James is going to be one of the people that I'm going to hand a bucket to. He may get 2 buckets because we've been best friends so long. And then I'm going to tell him to hit the bricks. In a full-on, like a Mad Max, there's no way I could support him long term. I hate to say it because I like the guy a lot, but he would be a liability after, a few days. My oldest is the only one who won't see us. Squatch America. I hate to hear that people's family are shunning them over this, but it's good morning, Leah. We're trying to run a little late here for you. I hate to hear that anybody's family would shun them over that, but they've been programmed to think this way. And that's what I was saying earlier. They're going to pitch this whole idea that it's almost over and we're at the end of the tunnel, and then they're going to pull the rug out from under people. And they're going to further anger the ones that have taken it because they really believe it's our fault. Nobody seems to blame China. Didn't this thing originate in China? I don't see any blame being put on them. Somehow or another, it's being thrown onto the backs of Americans who just want, to say my body, my choice. and now it's all our fault somehow. Eddie Sanders, excuse me, government is very good at programming people. Wow, it's early. They are. They've been doing it for a long time. Been doing it for a long time. Tilton Rear. I like that name. Tilton Rear here on Hump Day. Wow. Caveman James may surprise with a different attitude when it hits the fan. He might. You know, he might, but his problem is going to be, and so I don't know how many people here are new and how many people aren't, but when I was a teenager, you know, my late teens, I was actually homeless for a little while. And you talking about the ultimate Mad Max right there. And I actually ended up moving in with James and his mom for about 6 months. His mom's like a second mom to me. So it's one of those deals where I would want to make sure that they were taken care of. I wouldn't leave them out to dry, but at the same time, he doesn't bring a whole lot to the table in terms of prepping. Not that I'm a master prepper or anything like that. So I do feel an obligation to help him out, but I ain't going to do it for 10 years. I can't do that, you know. Jim Cronmiller, welcome to the Coffee Club. Jesus, thank you very much. But yeah, I'll see his mom. What happens is we go up to visit. My wife goes up to visit her family up in Virginia, which is only about 45 minutes away. And I'll sit in there. I was just there actually a few days ago. And Outlaw Prepper, I go in and he's watching. He watches these professional eaters now on YouTube, like where they go in and they do all these food challenges. So I sit there for a couple of hours and watch that with him. And sometimes we'll run into, I know where James works up there, and then we'll run into his mom sometimes because it's a very small town. Salty Gummer, Wolverines. Y'all messing with me now. Salty Gummer on Hump Day. What are the odds? I mean, come on, man. People are messing with me. They're going out and changing their name and theming it as Hump Day. Golden Saucer, have you considered making a subreddit? I don't even know what that is. I'm not being ridiculous. I don't even know. I've heard of Reddit. I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's a phone application, a website, or what. For all I know, it's another eBay. The moderators probably know. They're really good at that kind of stuff. Let's see. So far, Prepper Trucking. So far, how are my predictions? He sent an email, I think it was early last week, brother, with all kinds of predictions, and so far they're hitting. You got a crystal ball over there or something. They're hitting pretty spot on. The timing a little off, but Homestead Homeboy, North Carolina. Welcome to the Coffee Club, buddy. Got to go. I understand, Swamp Bottom. I have to go in a few minutes myself. Thank you for being here. Have you ever thought Caveman is secretly prepping? Cheryl, no, I've been to his house. That boy, he ain't prepping. He likes his Doritos and he likes sweet tea. There's plenty of that there. And weed. And that's it. Like, that's all that boy is prepping. Margaret, balkanization is an enemy strategy. It very well could be. You know, this could be a small part of a bigger plan for China or Russia or potentially both of them to split the United States up. So it could be that seceding from the Union is actually playing into their plan. But the thing is, even if you split up, you know, let's say we were split up or carved up into 4 different sections, one section is going to be completely filled with Second Amendment patriots, and they would have a tough time. I don't care who it is. They're going to get a fight when they come down through there. But again, I mean, in a perfect world, we would just start arresting tyrants and getting rid of the nonsense, you know. Paul, maybe he has a cave that you don't know about. Well, that's possible. Sailing Prepper, how you been doing, man? How much longer do you have until you can get on your boat? Yeah, I did a little bit. Reckless Reese. John, did you hear about the $1 trillion coin? I tried to read a little bit on it. I didn't really understand what kind of scheme they got going on. It sounds like a scheme to some degree. They're trying to circumvent the fact that we have so much debt. But I didn't really understand these specifics on what they're trying to pull off there. J.R. Cannon, caveman can farm weed for barter. Oh, man. I don't know. I took, not this past camping trip, but the time before, I took MREs, okay? He wouldn't eat them. He tried a couple of bites and he's like, man, it's disgusting. I can't eat this. And I'm like, this is the Cadillac food during SHTF, son. If you can't eat this, you are not going to live. So, like beans and rice, he wouldn't, I don't know. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. And he's a blazer thief. They want to place a $1 trillion value on a 1 ounce platinum coin. Count me out. That's out of my budget. Cogito says it is a spin job. No actual backing. We don't have any actual backing on anything. They're just, I don't know. Always some kind of money-making scheme with these people. Or some kind of ridiculous tax. We don't have any accountability from our politicians on both sides. They spend money on different things. But it's mostly nonsense. It's either wars that maybe we shouldn't be fighting. Or it's whatever AOC is spending money on this week. Money-taking scheme, exactly. Laura, I think it's India that's C-19 free. I have read that, and I just think that they're getting ready to dangle it in front of people here in the United States. And then maybe Canada also, and then pull that rug out. Arkansas Living is in the house. Let me tell you, Arkansas, brother, ever since, here's what I was talking about yesterday when I left that comment over there. Ever since you got rid of the beard, you remind me of somebody that's like on the San Diego Padres or something, or the New York Yankees. You just look like somebody that's ready to be interviewed on ESPN. And that's not an insult, man. It's just different than what I'm used to, man. I'm used to the hat and the mountain man beard. And now that you've shaved that off, I'm like, wow. Like you're getting ready to go to a meeting for a Fortune 500 company or something. You're getting ready to lead a team in there and try and figure out how to sell a $1 trillion coin or something. So I guess it's a compliment in a way, man. I probably need to shave my beard up a little bit, but I quit caring, man. But great message over there. I love the positivity and stuff. You have an awesome channel, man. You always have. For those that don't know, Arkansas Living is in here. And it's a faith-based message, which I really like too. Plus the hat. I mean, the hat does it for me, man. Lana, Lincoln was the biggest tyrant of them all. I do not disagree. A lot of people love Lincoln, but to me, he's one of the worst that we've had because he has the distinction of going to war with his own people. It's kind of like you either sent the army in on your own people or you launched an illegal war against a sovereign nation. So either way you go, just not a great president in my opinion. But I know I'm in the minority on that one. Arkansas should do voice commercials. There you go, Aloha. But he fought vampires. Troy, I've actually never... I think that's a book series and a movie series, and I've never read it or watched it. I've always wondered. So yeah, on some days like today, we're going to run over a little bit. I've had a few people. Leah is in chat. She was one of them that said, "Can you just start a little bit later, son, so I can chat with people for a while?" I can't run too much later, but that's why we're running late. And I'm going to try and do that from time to time because I know everybody's got a life and they got their own deal going on. Reckless, $1 trillion coin would create hyperinflation. You are not wrong. That is you, Leah. Yes. Chio 177 has a message for the great doctor Frankenfauci, who we're probably going to talk about tomorrow. He's been threatening to cancel Christmas, in his own little nerdy way. The way he speaks is just like he's speaking down on everybody. We're all peons. So he's talking about, I don't know, we'll get into it tomorrow, but he's talking about only if you've had the whiskey shot can you actually have a Christmas get together, and you have to mask and you have to open all the windows. And I'm like, dude, it's going to be 10 degrees outside. Are you kidding me, son? John Mack, why does anyone listen to him? I have no idea. Frankenfauci should have been gone a long time ago. But he's just part of the grander plan. Cliff says, I follow no man. I get it. Totally understand that. Dawn says, yeah, that ain't happening. You're going to listen to him or else, Dawn. Selling Prepper, thank you, brother. Are you Selling Prepper? Are you still down for the count? Or are you up and moving around now at least? T-Rex says the South was winning the Civil War by 100,000 casualties and still threw in the towel. They ran out of food. They didn't have anything to eat, man. Which, not really their fault. I mean, when the North goes scorched earth and they start burning down churches and farms and things, you do run out of food. I'm heading out. Thank you for being here, Shorty. Lana, slavery was not the cause of the Civil War. It was partly to blame. And states' rights, federal rights were also a big one. Yeah, Spencer, they Sherman's March. If anybody's not familiar, Sherman's March, he was really the one that invented scorched earth. He just went in, killing civilians, doing all kinds of nasty stuff. And Lincoln okayed it. So again, not the greatest president in my opinion. Who was the South's president? William Ashley. It was Jefferson Davis. Thank you for being here, Allison. I'm going to close up shop now. I got to refill my coffee cup. And yeah, he was a war criminal, Robert. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to wait a few minutes for the live chat to kick over. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about Fauci, Christmas. Probably going to be something Christmas themed. I don't know if I have a Santa hat around here or not. But mods, I will try and slow the chat down a little bit more, even so tomorrow. I appreciate y'all being here. And y'all have a blessed